sometimes you get overwhelmed by the thought of it, but it really is not as complicated as it seems. So let's just start off with a few public service announcements. First of all, this Thursday night, in place of the amazing Rabbi Chef Avi, who's been teaching us all his delectables the past few weeks, we have guest chefs. The Honigswald children are going to be teaching everybody how to make delicious Pesach desserts. So this is definitely one you don't want to miss. It's going to be a little bit earlier to keep bedtimes in mind. So it's going to be at 7:00 p.m. this coming Thursday evening. Pesach desserts with the famous sous chefs from Rabbi Chef Avi's shows. So keep your iPads, whatever you're using, your computers ready for 7 p.m. Thursday night to tune in for that. It's going to be live on the DATA of Richardson Facebook page. So everybody that wants to check that out, please check that out. So before we start, I'm going to post a bunch of links here. I want to share some resources that I think will be very helpful to a lot of people here. So first off, there's two, post them here. Here's one. Everyone should see it. Let me know if you can't see it for whatever reason. Here is two kosher for Pesach recipe books. So anyone cooking this year, here's two options. A big thank you to Lindsay Retan for sending one of those two. The other one is from the Torah Day School girls. So a thank you to both of them for providing us with good Pesach recipes. Anybody wants to check those out, you should be able to just click on the link and download it. In addition, everyone should just know for themselves that there are a lot of the caterers in Dallas. A lot of the local caterers are offering kosher for Pesach food, kosher for Pesach takeout. So if anybody wants to do that, you should just know that I know Lola's doing it. I know Taste of the World is doing it. That's to cater to the Richardson dinner. So anybody that wants to take advantage of these things, if cooking is a part of it that's overwhelming to you, then
Kosher Palette has a lot of takeout stuff, and both Tom Thumbs.
Both Tom Thumbs, Kosher Palette also, yeah. So there's a lot of options. I think most of the kosher caterer ones you have to order in advance, and I think the deadline is April 2nd for Lowell and for Sassy Cats for Taste of the World.
What about Siegel Catering in Chicago?
In Chicago, you got to figure that out on your own.
Siegel Catering?
They're not doing kosher for Pesach. Sorry. Got to go somewhere else, but it's a good thought. We appreciate the thought. Okay, so that's one basic just setup that I think is really just a good thing to know. Another very helpful resource, especially if you're making Pesach for the first time. So first of all, if you do not have a Haggadah yet, Art Scroll is actually having free shipping now on all of their stuff. They have a bunch of great Haggadahs. Here's one link also for their youth Haggadah. It's nice, it's pretty. Got good pictures, it's got little explanations. It's not so expensive, it's like $8, $9, and there's free shipping on it. I believe if you order it now, you can still get that for Pesach. So if you're looking for a good Haggadah, that's a good one to get. Another great link resource that I would just share before we get into the actual laws of Seder itself is there's a website, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, called dansdeals.com, which it's a Jewish guy in Cleveland. He's a Lubavitch, and he posts deals whenever he finds them, not a Jewish thing, just kind of any deals he finds, but he also does Jewish things, and he put together a great page for people making Pesach for the first time. So I'm putting that link here also in the group chat, and he has here anything and everything from Haggadah stuff to kitchen in a box, everything you'll need for a first-time kitchen, and just the various utensils in the kitchen. He just has a lot of stuff that he calculated that he put in here already. He really is good at organizing these things. Everything's on his page is clickable with links and stuff. So just a pretty super easy way to go if you're looking to buy stuff for your kitchen and you don't want to think through everything in your kitchen. He thought through a lot of that for you, as well as he has a lot of the various kosher organizations, information and stuff.
Those links, I don't know if it's for everyone else. Those links pop up for a second and then they disappear. How do you find those links?
They don't pop up in the group
popped
chat?
Up for a second and now they're gone.
Open chat. On the bottom, there should be an option for chat. You see that?
No. Whoops.
There should be a chat option.
Avi, if you're on the iPad, it's up at the top.
Oh,
You
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm computer to the
Click
bottom.
the little banner. It says more. If you'll click that, then there's chat.
Oh, got it. Yep. Okay,
Gotcha.
cool.
So yeah, so you can close that if you want to keep it open. Those are all here. Just some good general resources, some recipes, some places to buy stuff. Kind of calculated a lot of stuff for you. Just in terms of preparing your house, that's really he's got most of it there. So might as well take advantage of people who did the work for you already. Also for a lot of kosher questions. So the CRC has an amazing app that I would strongly encourage. I think it's just very helpful, and they do a nice job with it. They have a lot of questions of what needs to be kosher for Pesach and other stuff that's really all already accessible there on the app. So if you have any questions, it's a good resource. Again, you could always reach out to myself, to Rabbi Avi. Always shoot a text, call, whatever it is, and that works also. Okay, so that's basically the gist. Now I really want to just go through, I guess, the day before the Seder, leading up through the Seder itself, just a couple basics. So the night before Pesach, we search our houses for chametz. The time to start that in Dallas is at 8:37. That's B'dikas chametz. We check our house for chametz. A lot of people have already gotten rid of everything from all the chametz in their house. So basically, you could put in make sure you seal it in a bag very well, like a Ziploc or something, and just hide a few, 10 pieces as the custom. Put them around your house. There's a bracha you can make, a blessing. You find that in the beginning of the Haggadah, and you make the blessing. You find the 10 pieces of bread, and then save it in a safe spot until the next day when you destroy that chametz. On a normal year, the way we would destroy that chametz is a lot of communities have bonfires. Because of safety concerns, that's why the communities in general have told people not to make individual fires, rather they have large communal fires in most cities, most congregations. This year, because of the social distancing concerns, basically all of the rabbis across America have basically said that if you look in the Talmud, there's one view that says you have to burn your chametz, but we don't actually rule like that view. It's a stringency. The primary law, the Ikar Adin, is that you just have to get rid of it in any way. So the leading rabbis are suggesting that once you take these 10 pieces of chametz and flush them down your toilet, that's the ideal way to do it. Get rid of them out of your house through flushing it down your toilet this year. So you should not make a private fire in your backyard, and you should also not be part of any large communal thing. So what all of the leading rabbis are saying this year is preferred is just flush it down the toilet. If you have too much chametz to do like that, you should throw it out in a public garbage. If you live in Dallas, your regular garbage can be your public garbage. If you're in Richardson, so we don't have that luxury because we own our garbage cans and bring out the garbage. So you should find somewhere public, I guess, to drop it off there, whatever little bit of chametz you have left. So that's the day before chametz, the day before Pesach, the night before Pesach, 8:37 p.m. We check for chametz. The next morning we will eat chametz. You can eat chametz here locally until 5 to 11, 10:55. After that, you should not eat any more chametz, and you should destroy all your chametz by 12:12. We're going to, once again, like we did in past years, have chametz sales, and the link should be finalized. I was just about done with it, didn't finish it 100%. So we will have that sent out hopefully either tonight after this ends or tomorrow morning. Again, normally we meet in person and we sign these documents, myself and Rabbi Avi together. This year, because of health concerns, we're going to be doing everything online. So keep your eyes open in the next 24 hours for that link, and just fill out the link and let us know if you have any questions. Additionally, this year, on the day before Pesach, there is an extra thing we do since Pesach this year falls out on Thursday. So that means that the holiday is not in Israel. We're going to have the holiday of Pesach Thursday and Friday, and then that's going to go straight into Shabbos. So because of that, in general, you're not allowed to prepare from the holiday to Shabbos. So in a situation like this, where you can't really prepare for Shabbos necessarily so far in advance, so the rabbis instituted something called an Eruv Tavshilin, which allows us to prepare on Friday for Shabbos. So if you want to see the text of it, if you have the classic art scrolls here, it can be found on page 654. Basically, all you have to do is you should take a piece of matzah and make a hard-boiled egg. Take these two things and pick them up for the sake of making an Eruv Tavshilin. And you can see the blessing and the other sentence you make. It basically is saying, this is the beginning of my preparation. And through this, I'll be able to prepare on Friday for Shabbos. And then you can prepare, you save those things, put them on the side, and you should eat them on Shabbos. If any more specific information, feel free to reach out, or you can find it again in the Art Scroll Seder on page 654, any details for that. So that basically gets us ready for the holiday of Pesach. Any general questions until now? We'll open up the floor for anything anyone wants to throw out there. Or again, feel free to add it in to the chat if you want as well. You're welcome to throw something out whenever you want. Okay, if nothing else, then let's go forward. Yeah.
I did have a question just for clarification. I'm sure I misheard that, but if you could just clarify that. You said that only 10 items we need to destroy in the commode. Is that, or you were just, is that what you said?
Let me clarify that. Sure, great question. So all chametz you have to get rid of either by throwing away, destroying, or selling to a non-Jew. You can't have any chametz in your possession once Pesach starts. So anything that you're selling to a non-Jew, that you could just sign the document or whatever. You'll click on the document, I'll sign you later, and that just put somewhere in your house, lock up that area so you're not going to access it on Pesach, and you're done with that. Any chametz you left out that you're planning on eating, let's say up to the time when you can no longer eat it, that chametz you should get rid of after you're done eating it. So let's say you have some extra, you're having some bread for breakfast, you have an extra few pieces of bread. Whatever you have left there in the morning of the day before Pesach, you want to get rid of all of that. Now, separately, the night before Pesach, we search our houses as an extra added measure, in addition to whatever we've done already, to make sure that there's no chametz left anywhere in our house. Since generally we've already gotten rid of all the chametz from our house and we only have left over the few pieces that we're planning on anyways eating, so it's customary in order that you should find something and there shouldn't be a loser who can't find any chametz. So you put out some pieces of bread. It's customary to put out 10 pieces or 10 little, not pieces of bread, 10, small little pieces. It's like a little teeny bit in a bag in a sealed place, wrapped very well that it shouldn't get loose, and put that out at night. Then you find those 10 pieces just to make sure that you do the mitzvah of finding the chametz. But Either way, the next morning, by the time of 10:56, you can't own any chametz, those 10 pieces or any other chametz, any at all. And any chametz you still have that you're not planning on selling to the non-Jew, you should get rid of either by throwing it in the garbage or flushing down the toilet.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So then let's move on to the night of Pesach then. So the night of Pesach is like any other Jewish holiday or Shabbos. So the custom is women light candles like they do every other one. There's a special bracha they say the Yontif blessing. Again, this can be found in the Art Scroll Seder and probably in many Haggadahs as well. And you make that blessing, as well as they make the special Shehechiyanu blessing. If you're using this Art Scroll Youth Seder, is the one that I have here in front of me. So they do have that blessing here, and you'll see that blessing here on page 7. Just a quick show and tell. This is, I think I set it up that you guys could see this in the correct way, right? It's not mirrored for you? Yeah, so this is how good I'm talking about. It's got nice little pictures, nice explanations. Not too overwhelming with commentary, but a little bit of nice stuff inside of it. There are thousands of Haggadahs out there. Pick one that you like. Rabbi Honensal, I see you have your hand raised. Is that on purpose?
Yeah. How do you do that on your selfie camera?
There's an option here on the videos, which direction you want to make it on Zoom. I don't know. I was playing with it before. It's backwards for me. I see it backwards. You see it straight. You can pick either one. I don't know why it's like that, but for me it was backwards, so I wasn't sure. Yeah, so that's the way. So they make the blessings. That's when we make the blessings, and then we go on with our regular Pesach Seder. Many people have the custom at the night of the Pesach Seder that the men wear a kittel. Kittel is that white robe that many people wear on Yom Kippur. If you don't have a custom on this, the Siegel custom is actually not to wear a kittel. I believe the Honensal custom is to yes, wear a kittel. So if you don't have a custom, feel free to go either way. Valid Jewish customs on both sides. But there is a custom to wear a kittel. Many Jewish people have, which is similar to the only day other than Yom Kippur. One of the ideas I've heard behind this, why we wear a kittel on Yom Kippur and on the night of the Seder, is because Yom Kippur is the only day of the year where the high priest goes into the Holy of Holies. And when the high priest enters the Holy of Holies, it's considered like an unbelievably spiritual experience for him. Even on his great elevated level, he experiences such spiritual heights that he never could have thought of. And that same concept, we're all able to. The lights, a lot of the Kabbalistic sources speak about that the lights on the night of Pesach shine so brightly that spiritual levels that we're not generally able to attain. We're like that Kohen Gadol going into the Holy of Holies, like that priest. We're also able to attain those great spiritual levels. That's one of the reasons suggested, maybe why we wear a kittel for the Seder. Rabbi Honigswald, you have your hand raised again. I assumed you wanted to add something.
I think it's still raised from last time.
Oh, you could probably unraise it. I don't know. Am I supposed to unraise it?
I don't know I don't even see it that it's raised.
There's a button. It's probably under your more again. You click on it. That raise your hand, and then probably click on it again. I'm guessing. Yeah. There you go. Okay, fine. Sorry, I just noticed it. Okay, fine. Yeah. So that's the basic setup. There's a very interesting halacha, a very interesting law in Jewish, in the code of Jewish law as well, that our Pesach table, when we set our Pesach table, we're supposed to put the nicest stuff we have in our house, our finest silver, our finest stuff we have, our nicest plates, our nicest, obviously only if it's kosher for Passover, but all the nicest dishes we have, we should use the night of the Seder, because since part of the theme of the Seder is feeling like we're nobility, feeling like we are free kings that Hashem took us out of Egypt, so part of that is looking at a table with beautiful items on top of it. So you should keep that in mind when you're setting your table and put on these great stuff on top of it. A lot of people have the custom also to put they have silver candlesticks, put those on the table also, because it enhances the general look of the table with having those beautiful candles on there. Okay, so no further questions. Let's actually start with the Seder itself. So I want to post one more link over here. So we call it the Pesach Seder. The word Seder in Hebrew means order, because in essence, we're really going through an order. So for those of you that this is their first time, it's really not that complex. It's a really relatively simple order. I'm going to post here, if you have any Haggadah, it'll really guide you through the order. I also just added to the chat a sheet that NCSY put together, which is a very nice sheet. Here, I'll just share it quickly with you guys on the screen if you want. This is the sheet they put together. It has a basic, just very, again, basic order of the Seder with what we do in each step of the way. Super simple, super easy, something nice, little quick, easy thing you can print out. You follow your Haggadah, it'll teach you, most Haggadahs will guide you along the process also. But even without that, this is a nice little added thing. The link is in the section on the side. Also, one other thing when you set up the Seder, so before we actually go through the orders, part of getting the table set is a few basic items you need. So there's a mitzvah for every Jewish male and female to drink 4 cups of wine or grape juice at the Seder. So every seat, in addition to the regular place setting that you have of 4 cups, knives, whatever you have there, you should have a kiddush cup, an extra cup for drinking kiddush. You don't have to have a huge, large kiddush cup. The smallest size that's kosher for the 4 cups of wine is 3.3 ounces. So minimally, it should be 3.3 ounces. Anything larger than that is fine. Additionally, we also, part of the setup is we have the Seder plate. Now, the Seder plate has a specific design and setup to it. If you don't have a Seder plate, I believe I saw in Kosher Palette, they have just kind of like basic plastic ones that have the setup on them, also kind of with little holes, little like indentations in the plate where different things go. I'm going to put over here another infographic that I'm just sharing with everyone over here. Just a basic thing to show you how to, classic way of setting it up. I can share that with you here quickly if you want also. Here, let's just share that quickly with everyone here. Kind of big like this right now, but this is how they have it along. This is your Seder plate, a few different things on it. Here it just kind of gives you what these 6 things are. We can quickly go through these things here. We have the beta is, sorry, I guess we'll go clockwise from 12 o'clock. So we have maror. Maror is the bitter herbs. Generally, people use for this romaine lettuce. And if you're using romaine lettuce, there's potentially romaine lettuce could have bugs in it, so you have to clean it well. You can look at the CRC app how to clean romaine lettuce. Alternatively, Kosher Palate sells pre-checked romaine lettuce, which it's a little more expensive, but makes your life a lot easier. That again is symbolizing the maror, the bitter times we had, as we'll go through in the actual order of the Seder when that comes up. The next one is the zroa. The zroa is a bone, shank bone. All people use a chicken wing or something like that. This is just symbolic. It reminds us of the Paschal lamb in biblical times, or not biblical times, in the times of the temple. When we had a temple, we brought out the Paschal lamb. We shared that and ate that with everyone at our Seder. Now that we don't have that, we remember that by having a symbolic bone on our plate, on our Seder plate. We do not eat this bone. It doesn't even have to have any meat on it, but even if it does, you should not eat it. At the Seder, generally it's roasted in advance, and that's on the Seder plate. Below that is the charoses. Charoses we'll discuss a little more during the Seder, but that's basically a dip made by apples, nuts, a bit of wine, and you can make it if it's complicated to make. I believe you could buy that also in Kosher Palate, or you could probably stop by and pick some up, a little container from us if you wanted as well. And we're going to use that. We're going to dip the maror, and we get there inside of the charoses. On the bottom of the plate is the chazeres. Chazeres is often either a horseradish or sometimes a root of romaine lettuce, again used for maror. One's used, as we'll discuss in a little bit. Now we have the karpas. The karpas is a vegetable, generally potatoes, parsley, some people use celery, and you use that, and we'll use that. We'll discuss in this a little bit also. Last thing on the Seder plate is the beitza, the egg. This commemorates a special korban that we used to bring, also the korban chagiga, which was a second korban that we would bring in the times of the temple. We commemorate that also by having the egg on the Seder plate. So this is another thing. The link again is in the comments here, how to set it up. Those are basically the gist of what you need. We'll just share one last thing before we go into the actual Seder itself, which is here, which I found was just basically a little kosher checklist. So again, just if you want to just see everything that you want to prepare, I'll bring it up here also. Basically, it's just a list of basic things that you might want to think about getting in advance if you're thinking about what you need for the Seder. It's not really that big of a list. I believe this is basically everything that you want. I'll just mention they have here, in addition to everything else they mention here, just what we haven't talked about yet, the pillows. So there's a concept we'll discuss about leaning during various parts of the Seder. So a lot of people put down a pillow to make it a little more comfortable for themselves. Another thing they have here under extras, they have props for the 10 plagues. So again, it'll really depend on who you're with at your Seder, if you have children, if you don't have children. If you do have children, really one of the themes of the Seder, one of the whole purposes, it's a special commandment in the Torah, one of the 7 mitzvahs that we're going to do the night of the Seder is to tell over the story of Pesach, of the Exodus of Egypt with our children, to our children. And that tradition really gets passed on. That tonight is the main night to pass on that tradition. So a lot of times, if we just have a conversation about it, it could be somewhat boring. And you could buy a lot of things today. I personally got a bunch of stuff already. It came already. I ordered. There used to be a great store in Plano, right near DATA of Plano, called US Toy. And they had tons of these little, just little tchotchkes, little frogs, little stuff, whatever you do. And throw on the table, give to your kids during different plagues, whatever you're discussing. They closed down last year, but you can still go on their website and order. It was free shipping. I don't remember what the minimum was. And they just have a lot of not such expensive stuff, just good props to use at the Seder. I don't know. I'm very happy with them. ustoy.com, I think it is, but you could search it and find them. They have some great stuff. If not, I could probably check. I probably have a lot extra also because a lot of these things come in packs of 24 and stuff. But these are great things to have to just kind of make it more animated, more exciting. Another good tool, part of it is really to get our kids intrigued, to get them to ask questions. What I do is every time my kids ask a question, some people give out snacks, you give out a little chocolate or something. What we've done in the past is basically from US Toy also, I buy either big stacks of fake dollar bills or fake coins, and everybody that asks a good question or gives a good answer or shares something gets a coin, and then, I don't know, you make up some system where 5 coins is worth a prize and 10 coins is worth a bigger prize, or however you want to make it work. But it's exciting. I give out the coins very, very freely there's coins flying around the table the whole time. Doesn't really matter. The point is that they feel good every time they get a coin, and they get prizes, and everyone has a really good time. So it's just a good process. You know, the different forms of it. See what works well for your family, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. Okay, with that in mind, I want to go through the Seder itself, since there's going to be no services this year in synagogue. So again, you daven Marv at home by yourself before you start the Seder. Kiddush should not be before 8:17. No, sorry, correction. Kiddush should not be before 8:37. Kiddush should not be before 8:37 the night of Pesach, Wednesday night. So whatever time you are learning, whatever time you are davening Marv, you could daven Marv a little bit earlier than that. The time for candlelighting, one second, candlelighting is 7:34 here in Dallas. But you should not start to light candles 7:34. You should not make Kiddush before 8:37. Okay, with that, so we start off making Kiddush. So again, like we do on every Shabbos and Yontif meal, we make Kiddush. This is the order of Kaddish. Again, a 15-step process. There's a lot of great songs. The Siegel Kinderlach, we're thinking of maybe putting out some of the Pesach classic songs. Maybe we'll do next week. The Honesal kids will teach us how to bake. Maybe the Siegel Kinderlach will teach us a few songs if we can get them to. They've been ups and downs in terms of interest. We'll see where they end. But there's a lot of great songs. I suggest people to learn them. If everyone's interested, I could definitely send you some links or record it and send it to you. Let me know if you're interested in that. Start with Kiddush. Kiddush is unique here in a few ways. First of all, everyone, since there's a mitzvah for everyone to have 4 cups of wine, Kiddush is our first cup that we're going to drink of the night, and therefore, not like as opposed to a regular Friday night or Yontif night, where only the head of the household makes Kiddush for everyone. Here, everyone in attendance should have their own Kiddush cup. Everyone has to drink their own full cup of wine, not just take a small little shot glass from the main person. Everyone should have their own cup of wine filled before Kiddush. Then I think different houses do differently. What we do in my house is we all actually say Kiddush out loud together. I think in different houses, they go around the table, each person takes a turn. But definitely each person should have their own cup in front of them that should be full. Again, a minimum of 3.3 ounces. And you could use wine, you could use grape juice, doesn't matter. And when we finish this cup, we drink it. So we recline when we drink the wine. Reclining is considered a symbol of freedom. And therefore, during the Seder, whenever we do different acts of freedom, such as eating matzah, or really it's brought down in some places some people lean for the whole meal, because these are symbolic of freedom. Nowadays, it's not really as the high nobility doesn't really lean the same way they used to. When you think of like those old pictures, you imagine some old, king or queen lying across a couch with like a little grape thing in their mouth. So there was more classic in those days to recline. But the halacha is still we should still recline during the set points in time, such as when we drink the wine. So
Rabbi Moshe, had a quick question.
Yeah.
It's probably not that big of a deal, but as far as the grape juice and the wine, I thought that maybe I misunderstood in the past that you're at least required to have some wine. Is that correct, or you can get by with just drinking grape juice?
There's different. You definitely fulfill the mitzvah completely with grape juice. That for sure. There's different levels of enhancing the mitzvah. To enhance the mitzvah to the greatest way, many understand you should have it with wine. You should have it completely with wine. A lower level of that, I think some people say, is you have some wine in it, and that still has the alcoholic element of it, which is one of the aspects of what makes it happy and stuff. So that maybe is slightly preferred, but you definitely can fulfill it. If someone's pregnant or someone's very sensitive to alcohol, you can definitely fulfill it with grape juice. There's no mitzvah to have the most alcoholic wine. You should drink something. The main thing is it's really something you should enjoy. So if you're gonna have wine and you're gonna think it's disgusting, it's not necessarily a bigger mitzvah just because it's wine, as opposed to if you get something that you really, really enjoy.
So there is no really preference in regards to like red wine or white wine or anything like that.
So again, red wine is preferred to white wine, all things considered. Again, if it's just a pure hierarchy. But again, if there's something that you drastically enjoy, the white one first, I believe you should use the white one. Use whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you feel good, feel like a king. Kings drink what they want to drink, what tastes good to them. So I think you should drink whatever is good to you. If you like, all things considered, everything equal, you have no preference, you don't care, then it is ideal to use wine and to use red wine.
Thank you.
Perfect. So again, so the first step is Kaddish, that's Kiddush. After Kiddush, move on. The next step is Urchatz. Urchatz, we wash our hands. Again, there's different customs. Basically, everyone washes their hands. Everyone at the Seder washes their hands. The reason for this is that the next step after Urchatz is Karpas. Karpas, we take a vegetable, we're going to dip it in salt water. And when you eat wet vegetables, you're actually supposed to wash your hands before you eat them. And therefore, that's why we wash our hands in Urchatz, because we're going to eat the vegetables. There was no blessing enacted for this washing. We only make a blessing on washing our hands before we eat bread. So later in the Seder, we're going to wash for our matzah, and at that point in time, we'll make a blessing. At this point in time, at Urchatz, we're just going to wash our hands, make no blessing. However, even though there's no blessing, you still ideally should not talk until after the karpas, because you still should not separate between the washing and the purpose that you're washing for. So again, you just wash. Some people bring, depending on who's at your Seder, if it's possible or not. We used to bring, growing up, my grandfather, his own bowl to his seat, leaving the table. He wouldn't have to get up. We would bring him a washing cup and a basin, able to sit like a king at the table and wash there. Nowadays, most of us, we go to the kitchen, you wash your hands. Either way, the point is you wash your hands and you go back to the table and you prepare for karpas. So karpas is you take a vegetable. Many people use potatoes. My family custom is we use parsley, but parsley, we often have parsley with cucumber because parsley is gross by itself, but I think we're the only ones in the world that use cucumber. Most people, I believe, use celery or potatoes, I think are most classic. Parsley also. So you take one of these vegetables. This is the first of two dippings that we do at the Seder. We're going to dip it a little bit in salt water, and you should only use a small amount of vegetable. You shouldn't get like a whole big cucumber. Just have one little piece, less than a kazayas. Basically, just a small little sliver, in order that you shouldn't have to make an after blessing afterwards. And then you're going to make the blessing of Bari Pariha Adama on the karpas, on this vegetable. And at that point in time, we're going to have one more vegetable before our meal, which is going to be the maror, the bitter herbs we're going to eat later. So we should keep in mind the bitter herbs that we're going to be doing later as well. The Adama is going to work for that as well. Again, everyone at the table should be doing all of these steps. So you get a small little piece of whatever vegetable you're using, dip it in salt water for each person. Everyone takes that, they make the blessing, and then you eat that. There's a debate whether we recline for this part or not, so I think most do not. But either way, you're good, because I think that is a debate. After karpas, the next one afterwards is yachatz. So yachatz means to break in half. So you take, I forgot, actually, now that I'm thinking this, I forgot to mention this earlier. Part of your setup, you went through the Seder plate. In addition to the Seder plate, you're supposed to have 3 matzahs that are set up in a regular Shabbos or holiday meal. We always have 2 challahs on the table. On Pesach, it's unique that we have 3 on the table. And the main reason for this is because since we're going to break one right now in yachatz, we want to still have 2 complete ones later. That's maybe the most basic reason for it. There's a lot of other reasons mentioned also. So you have these 3 matzahs. Some people have like a tiered Seder plate where there's places to put it underneath it. If not, you just have it next to the Seder plate on the table. And you take the middle of the 3 matzahs. These 3 matzahs should all be complete, whole, unbroken matzahs. You take the middle matzah and you break it in half. You look at the 2 halves, and obviously they're not exactly half. And you take the bigger half, and the bigger half you put aside, and we're going to eat that later at the end of our meal. The smaller half you take and you put it back in between the 2 matzahs, back in the middle. And the bigger half, ideally, you should have some kind of bag to put it in. If you don't have a fancy bag, you could just take, take a Ziploc bag or something like that and put it inside that bag, close off the bag, because you want to make sure that you don't lose this later. And that is the part of yachatz. Now, what a lot of people, there's a lot of different, I guess, games you could play with the afikomen. Many people don't actually play these games till later. I'll just tell you what my father did or his father's done is we generally actually take this matzah and hold the bag. And my father and grandfather always held the bag over their shoulder for actually the whole magid. And as if they're walking out of Egypt holding the verse says that they had tzuros al shechmam. It said that they had their breads in bags hanging over their shoulders. So trying to reenact the Seder night, what we do is I hold the bag on my shoulder and hold it there for most of Magid. The game we play with our kids is the kids try to grab it when I'm not paying such good attention when it's on my shoulder, and if they get it, then that's the end of me holding it on my shoulder and they get it. If they don't get it, then I'll hide it somewhere later when they're not looking after Magid's over. A lot of different games, a lot of people during the meal, the father will hide it, some people will give it to the kids will hide it, the father has to find it. Either way, the main point is that you have a good time with your kids and you show them that this is a tradition we have, it's fun, it's good, and we give them this message of God being there for us, taking us out of Egypt, and we reenact giving them this message to today. So that is Yachatz, breaking the middle matzah. Again, we take the bigger half, put it away for later, and the smaller half we put back between them. After this, we get to Magid, which is really the main part of the story of the Exodus. So Magid starts the paragraph discussing the matzah, and then goes to the famous paragraph of the Manishtana. So Manishtana is, the Mishnah really teaches us, the Talmud teaches us that the kids ask the parents the Manishtana. If your kids know the Manishtana, they can ask you the Manishtana. If your kids don't know the Manishtana, or they're not going to be awake, or whatever it is, one spouse can say the Manishtana to the other spouse. And even this year, there'll be a lot of people that are going to be having a Seder completely by themselves, not even anyone else there. And the Gemara actually talks about this situation itself, and it says even if you're by the table by yourself, you should say the Manishtana, you should ask the questions to yourself, because there's a special concept on the night of Pesach of asking questions and answering questions. So even if you're there yourself, you should still ask in a question form, and we'll give the answer afterwards. So that is something that even by yourself you should still do in terms of the Manishtana. Then we're going to go through, you'll see if you have any Haggadah, this is probably the longest part. You can go through the paragraphs afterwards. In this youth Haggadah, this Art School youth one, so kind of what's nice about it, in addition to it, each paragraph they have basically like a small little thought explaining it, not too complicated. If you're able to go through the whole thing, there's no reason to do it in Hebrew. Do it in English. Do it in Hindi. Shout out to Chandler over there. I hope that's the right language. Do it in whatever language you're comfortable with, and it doesn't really make any difference at all. If for whatever reason you can't go through the entire part of Magid, or someone went to the middle to put someone to sleep, or something like that. So there are certain parts that you should say. The main part you should say is there's one paragraph. I'll just, and this in this one it is on page 32, and the one I'm using, it's called Rabbi Gamliel Hayomer. Rabbi Gamliel used to say, and that the next 2.5 pages are really the primary part of the Seder. And if you could only say one part, you should say that part. In addition to that, if you have more time, you should definitely also read the part about the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues, I would say, is number 2 in Halacha, that you should read through that part that we go through and discuss the specific plagues God did. That is the primary. If you have to boil it down to the simplest things, if you do the order and you read those paragraphs, you're good to go. Obviously, ideally, you should read the whole thing, and if you're able to, and it's not even ideal to read it in Hebrew. You should read it in whatever language you're familiar with, and whatever is good to go. 1 second, my computer is saying a little battery. Thought I should plug it in. Let's just bring this. Sorry about that. Okay, good to go. Yeah. Okay. Chandler, let's discuss that. Good question. We'll discuss that on case basis. Yeah. We'll talk afterwards privately. It's a very important question. Just something to mention that, as Chandler mentioned in the chat. I think everyone saw that, of inviting one other couple. It's a difficult situation we're in. I think everyone definitely realizes the uniqueness of Pesach and kind of the difficulty from the rabbinic perspective, and everyone wants to be with other people. At the same time, we're doing a big mitzvah. There's a mitzvah in the Torah of safeguarding life. It's actually probably the biggest mitzvah in the whole Torah. And as much as we're making ourselves crazy, or homeschooling everyone, and the intense lifestyle we have now, it's actually a tremendous mitzvah we're doing. Every single second, where the whole Jewish world is busy living the mitzvah of safeguarding lives, assuming you're staying home. So it's kind of, that's the balance. Obviously, it's difficult to have a Seder by yourself. I read an amazing article yesterday, actually, about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, when his wife passed away. She passed away like a month before before Pesach, I remember exactly, and he always had the Seder, just him and his wife. They didn't have kids, and he always had all Shabbos. He never had guests really. He always used to just eat by himself, and he always had him and his wife always had Shabbos meals together, Pesach together, and his wife had just passed away, so he was by himself. So he had thousands and thousands of Hasidim that would have been enthralled to be able to have a Seder with the Rebbe, and he didn't. He chose. He wanted to have that Seder completely by himself. And there was Rabbi Jacobson said that he used to ask some questions. He lived near him. Said that him and a group of friends they went to go watch the Rebbe's house from outside, and they saw that the Rebbe himself, when he got to the part of the Seder, opened the door for Elijah. He opened the door. He was by himself. He said the paragraph that we say when we open the door, and he went back and he himself also, even though he obviously could have had it with a lot of people, he had it by himself. And Rabbi Jacobson suggested maybe he was showing the masses that even the most spiritual person, you can have a holy Seder by yourself. And just an interesting balance there of kind of the mitzvah. It's a mitzvah on both sides, trying to weigh those two mitzvahs of safeguarding health and keeping everybody engaged in their Judaism and having a positive Jewish experience. But again, if it's a specific case, we'll discuss that in private. So moving on with the Seder, we go through Magid. That's really the gist of Magid. Again, we can go through each paragraph, has endless wealth on it. If you have the opportunity to find an English Haggadah, or even just that Haggadah itself, if you order that youth Haggadah, and you're able to order and get it a few days before Pesach, and read it yourself in advance. They don't have to read those paragraphs, and do a little preparation, whoever it is, the wife, the husband, the kids, anyone. If you read, the more you're prepared for it, the more you'll be able to, really give over that story and discuss it. There's a lot of great discussion questions also. It doesn't need to just be reading. You can discuss a lot of, what does it mean? Why is it important for us to discuss God taking us out of Egypt? What is true freedom? Living in a time like today when we're all quote unquote locked in our houses. Are we free? Are we not? What does true freedom mean? A lot of great conversation pieces to be discussed that you can you can add yourself good Pesach themed questions to the conversation as well. At the end of Magid, you'll see in the Haggadah is another blessing, and we're going to drink the second cup of wine. That is at the end of Magid, and that is basically the end of Magid. After Magid comes Rachta. Rachta is the next washing of our hands. This time we're going to be, 1 second here, let's see what we're up to here. Okay. After Magid comes Rachta, we're going to wash our hands. When we wash our hands, this time it's a regular classic washing of our hands for bread. We're going to be eating matzah now. So when we eat our matzah, everyone washes regulars, and we do every other time. Everyone comes back to the table, and you lift up the matzahs that are in front of you, those 3 matzahs. One more thing I just point out, in the Haggadah itself, it'll mention, if you follow along, you'll notice that it'll mention various points and times during the reading of Magid where we uncover those matzahs and when we cover up those matzahs specifically. So just something to keep your eye out for. Those instructions. Any Haggadah you're using will basically, give that opportunity, give that information for you. To take those matzahs and you make the blessings. Again, all the information's here. You make the hamotzi, you make a special bracha on the mitzvah. That's one of the biblical commandments we're fulfilling this night, is the mitzvah of eating matzah. The amount of matzah that you should eat here, there's kind of 2 different types of matzah. Some people use a square machine matzah. Some people use the round hand matzah. If you're using the square machine matzah, it's roughly 2/3 of a square matzah, is the size of an olive. And if you're using the hand matzahs, it really depends because of different thicknesses and stuff, but it's roughly half of the round hand matzahs. And ideally, you should eat this within, 3 to 4 minutes of starting too. You should kind of eat it in that amount of time. That's the most ideal way to fulfill the mitzvah. An interesting fact, there's a great rabbi, the Gra, Rabbi Elio Kramer, who understands, many understand like this, that although there's a mitzvah, you're obligated to eat matzah on the night of the Pesach Seder. That's a special biblical commandment. But really, throughout the whole days of Pesach, all 8 days of Pesach, anytime you eat matzah, it actually is you're fulfilling a positive commandment of eating matzah. So even though you don't have to on those occasions, you only have to the night of the Seder. But really, every time you do it over that time, you are fulfilling that mitzvah. So it's kind of like a cool thing to know about. Keep that in mind next time you're eating regular matzah pizza on some day of Chol Hamoed. You should think about the fact that you're actually fulfilling a biblical obligation in that as well. So fine, good. So that is matzah. So again, each person should eat that amount of matzah. After motzi matzah, we come to maror. So most people for maror use, again, romaine lettuce. That's kind of the basic thing to do. Each person should get the amount of lettuce. You here also, you should dip it in to I could post one of that also. There's different amounts of lettuce. Use an olive size amount. I'll post it afterwards. Send it out. I don't have that number on me this minute. But you also should eat this again in the same amount of time, roughly within 3 to 4 minutes. You should eat your maror. You take this romaine lettuce, you dip it in the charoses, which is again that that dip you have on your Seder plate. Each person dips it in there, or the head of the Seder dips it in and gives each person their romaine lettuce. And then you make the blessing on the maror and you eat it. The maror is not eaten reclining because the maror is symbolic of the slavery. Part of the themes of the night of Pesach is not just of the night of the Seder is not just to tell our kids what happened, but to really reenact it ourselves. The Haggadah says, "Chayav Adam liras es atmo, ki'ilu hu yatsa mitzrayim." Each person is obligated to imagine in their mind, to create in their mind as if they're leaving Egypt themselves. So we start with imagining the slavery. We envision ourselves being slaves. We think of the difficult work it would have done. Growing up, sometimes, you give some hard. Used to have bricks in my house growing up. We have the kids build some bricks, and then one of the kids would knock it down and make it build it again. And you do different things trying to reenact it. And then we go from there to the end of the process of us getting redeemed and leaving Egypt again with our matzahs over our shoulders and thinking how we're going to end the Seder. We're singing songs of praise to God and thanking Him for everything that we did. So that again takes us to maror. Maror is we dip the maror again in the charosas, make the blessings on the maror. We eat it straight up, not reclining, and that is maror. Moving on, the next thing after maror is the step called korech. So korech is we make a sandwich, and we read a paragraph. There's no blessing on this. Basically, you take a matzah. Again, basically take a piece of matzah, you break it in half, and you put between it again more romaine lettuce. Some people use for this actual horseradish, and people use it for that. Even if you're going to do that, you still want to have probably some romaine lettuce also inside of there with it to have enough. And then you make a sandwich. There's a paragraph you say there also. You can find it in any Haggadah. In times of the temple, Hillel used to really have a steak sandwich. He had a big piece of steak from his Korban Pesach, and you would eat it together with the matzah and the maror. So we don't have, obviously, a Paschal lamb anymore.
Not steak.
Say again?
Shawarma.
Sorry, I guess. Yes, lamb steak, right? It's from a lamb.
Lamb with a matzah pizza and some harif.
I hear that. It's true. Yeah, sounds delicious. Other than if it was Sephardi, it would be even better because then it would have been more like a lafa. But probably that's probably the first shawarma, right? It's Sephardi lafa, and then no hummus, unless maybe if you're Sephardi, you could have hummus also. I don't know. Probably doesn't say he had it. So that's korech. Korech, even though it has maror inside of it, korech we do eat while reclining. It also symbolizes freedom. It's really almost a symbolic of like the whole package of the Seder night, from the bad to the good, is all in that korech sandwich. So we do eat that korech sandwich reclining. After korech, we go to shulchan aruch, which is the festive meal. So again, festive meal, there's no rules for the festive meal. You should have delicious food. Whatever you want to have, you could have. The custom is to not serve roasted meat, because since the Paschal lamb, which we ate in the times of the temple, was roasted and was meat, so because of that, we do not eat roasted meat the night of the Pesach Seder. Anything else you could have. The Segal custom is not to eat meat at all. We have chicken or turkey. That's the Segal custom. But in general, definitely not to have roasted meat is the custom. And yeah, no real rules for that. It's a good time just to schmooze, to enjoy, and to share some interesting thoughts you have about Pesach. After Shulchan Aruch, so the next part is tzafun, which is our Jewish dessert. Delicious. We have, if you want some desserts to have in your meal before the halachic dessert, again, tune in 7 p.m. Thursday night. The Honigsfeld children are going to be teaching everyone some delicious recipes for Pesach desserts. You could have that as part of your festive meal. After you're done having that, we go to tzafun, which is the last part of the step, and that's when we're going to eat our afikomen. The afikomen this year, I think I have that written down somewhere. Ideally, you should finish the afikomen by midnight, the halacha midnight, which is 1:28 in Dallas this year. So again, most people aren't having such big seders. It's probably going to be quicker for a lot of people than in years past when you have a lot of people around. But in case you're having a awesome time discussing all the deep concepts of Pesach with your family, ideally you should try to eat. If not, you obviously still do it if you didn't get there on time. But you should try to eat the afikomen by 1:28. You should try finishing the afikomen by 1:28 in Dallas or Richardson. And the afikomen again is the same amount. You should have either that half of a machine matzah, or 2/3 of a machine matzah, or half of a round matzah. And again, you eat that while leaning. You should be leaning while you eat that matzah of tzafun afikomen at the end. A lot of times, like we mentioned earlier, there's different games. The kids steal the afikomen. They only give it back to their parents if the parents tell them they're going to get them a prize, or if the parents already gave them a prize, they give them a present for stealing the afikomen or for finding the afikomen. Different families, you could play the game however you want. Just make sure that if your kid takes your afikomen, that you know where it is if he goes to sleep. It's always a big issue. You don't want to have to wake your kid up later, and you do have to eat that. So definitely make sure someone knows where that is. It's lots of experience there talking for you. But you guys can learn from my mistakes also. Not only I have to learn from them. But yeah, so definitely keep that in mind. Eat that matzah, and then we move on to the next part, which is baruch. Baruch is benching. So regular benching is a special paragraph we add in for Ya'aleh V'Yavo, like we add in on all holidays. Again, you follow your Haggadah, and it'll more or less have that in order. After benching, we drink the 3rd cup of wine. Again, so you'll follow the Haggadah. I know it's worth speaking on every single detail. There's different places the Haggadah will instruct you. Here's the time to fill up your cup of wine. Here's the time to drink your cup of wine. I didn't mention earlier, it's something to pay attention for, especially during Magid. Even though you're not drinking the cup of wine until the end of Magid, you should have the cup of wine full during Magid itself. Additionally, there's other instructions I'm just thinking of now that if you pay attention to in the Haggadah, it's very simple. But at certain parts of time, we spill a lot of wine out of our cup during the Makos. Other points in time, just if you pay attention to the small little headers, again, I think this Haggadah keeps it very, very simple, and the words don't really get lost in a multitude of other words. So kind of makes it nice and easy. Again, for everyone that came late, I don't know who's watching or not. This is the Haggadah that I'm using. The links are in the chat, and you can get it on artschool.com with free shipping for about $8 or $9 a Haggadah. That's a great one also. So that one also, it's also on sale on artschool.com. All these Haggadahs are on sale now with free shipping, so everyone should take advantage. Yeah, that is benching. Benching, we drink the 3rd cup. After benching, the main part is really Hallel and Nirtzah, which are basically 2 different parts. Hallel is part of what we say in general. We often, on holidays, we sing the words of Hallel. It's from Psalms. And we, sorry, it's songs of, thank God I'm healthy. Well, just talking for a long time straight and haven't drunk any water yet. So the Hallel, we sing the songs that King David composed. Generally, every holiday, we sing these songs after Shachris. We'll sing them in the morning, maybe by ourselves in our own homes. After Shachris, we'll sing the Hallel service also. The only holiday that we sing Hallel at night also is the holiday of Passover. And one of the interesting concepts, is actually a song about this in Nirtzah as well, is that the night of Passover, the 15th of Nisan, was actually viewed as, it says, Karev Yom Asher Hu Lo Yom V'Lo Laila. It was a time that was neither night nor day. It was really like a combination time. It was the light of God shone so brightly that it was almost like a daytime even during the night. And because of that, we say Hallel, which is generally only said during the daytime, even at night. There's a lot of other customs. Some people don't lock their doors. It's like it's as if it's daytime. It's not nighttime at all. We're confident that Hashem is guarding us. Since this is a special night, it's almost like a surreal night where we're on a whole different level where it's almost like the next world. It's not even night anymore. So that's Hallel. And then comes Nirtza. There's a lot of great songs with beautiful tunes during these things. Just at the end of Hallel, I forgot to mention the fourth cup of wine.
We're waiting for the Siegel debut for all the tunes.
Yeah, there's a lot of great tunes. We have some good ones. We'll see. Hope I get my kids to join me. If you guys want it, I would really be happy to record them for everyone if it's something people would want. The fourth cup of wine is drunk on the after Hallel, right before Nirtza. Again, it'll be in your Haggadah. You'll fill it up. You'll drink the fourth cup of wine. After that, we're going to make a special after blessing also on our cups of wine. Hopefully, you're not too tipsy by then. You're still awake to do the last part, the 15th section of the Seder, which is Nirtza. Nirtza is some beautiful songs, really, describing different things. A lot of really nice concepts in each of these songs. The main thing we're going to say, the first part of Nirtza, is the Chasal Seder Pesach. We're going to say that we're completing the Seder now, and we tried our best to do everything in accordance to all of the laws and everything that we've learned and everything that we've studied. And we tried, we did all the commandments the best as we can. This year, we're by ourselves in Richardson, but next year, we should be in Jerusalem, Lashana Haba, B'Yushalayim HaBniyah. We should be in the rebuilt Jerusalem with Mashiach coming. Everyone, you can sing with this. You could dance, you could sing, make it exciting. If anyone's still awake, it's it's a time of, you can imagine. I just heard a rabbi. It was actually a very emotional speech he gave, where he was talking about how he himself struggles sometimes to really want Mashiach to come, because we're so comfortable. We can't imagine what would life be without living in our communities. What would life be without living with our shuls, with our jobs? And he was saying how now we don't have communities anymore. We don't have jobs anymore. We don't have shuls anymore. Like, we're all just completely by ourselves. Who wouldn't be excited if Mashiach would come right now? It would be like the most amazing thing. Mashiach would come. We'd be able to leave our houses, be able to see our friends, we'd be able to go to Israel together. Like, it would be unbelievable. Like, who wouldn't be excited for this now? Imagine the happiness of the end of the quarantine. It ends with everyone singing Lashana Haba in their house. All of a sudden you hear, the shofar blast coming out and all the Jews coming together. The coronavirus disappears, all of the negativity in the world disappears, and we sing and dance our way to Jerusalem. So, you can have these things in mind. You should use these moments of reflection and inspiration and thought. There's really a lot of meaningful moments you could bring forth to yourself and your family, whoever you're having the Seder with. After that, there's some great songs. Again, some of these songs, if you know the tunes, you have time to learn the tunes before Pesach, then great. You could read them also if you want. They could be in Hebrew, they could be in English. There's no reason to do things in Hebrew. This Haggadah has everything beautifully in English. And that really takes us until the end of the Haggadah. That's more or less the order of the Haggadah. If there's any questions, then just noticing Rabbi Honigsel's comment. Then feel free to ask any questions. Anybody, please ask.
Go for it.
Can you explain? I don't know if you got to it. I don't remember, but the proper way to lean.
Okay. Yes, definitely. Julie, I saw you unmuted yourself. Also, give us 1 second. We'll get to Julie next. Ideally, you're supposed to lean really with your body and your head. Your head's also ideally supposed to be leaning. So if you have a way to do that, that is preferred. A bigger chair, if you have like kind of a larger chair, and you could put like a pillow. We have a pillow here.
It's just for a minute.
No, one's is right there.
Oh.
So it's somewhat like this is really the ideal way to lean. I can't tell if you can actually see me at all or not. Is this at all clear? Basically, you're supposed to lean. You lean to your left. Everyone should lean to the left, whether righty or lefty. Everyone leans to their left, and you should ideally, if it's possible, you should lean with your head also in addition to your body, leaning on something. And you should hold the cup in your right hand when you're leaning on to your left, because if you hold it in your left hand, you'll probably spill. Very uncomfortable from a lefty. Anyways, yeah, okay, Julian or Lindsay.
I'm kind of a bit dumbfounded by the no roasted meat idea, because my whole life I've eaten brisket on Pesach. That is like the tradition. That's it. That's like, if you're not having brisket, you're not having Pesach. Like that is like been the thing. So I want a little bit more.
She wanted to double check that brisket wasn't roasted meat.
Rabbi Hornitzel wants. I'm assuming you guys are like still living with the temple. Like in your guys' mind, you're at such a high level that. What?
We have brisket every Pesach.
Right. If it's cooked in, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
If there's a lot of authorities, as long as there's, I would say around this month, half an inch, a quarter to half an inch of liquid on the bottom of the pan that you're going to put it into the oven, and it's not considered roasted anymore. So just put some sauce or some water, however you're cooking. If you want some good recipes,
we got a lot of sauce.
What?
You got a lot of sauce.
We got a lot of sauce in there.
Okay,
There's a lot of
perfect,
sauce in there that's not roasted anymore.
If you look in the laws of the Korban Pesach, it says that you have to eat it roasted over an open fire, and you can't eat it raw, and you can't eat it boiled. Those are all explicit in the verses. So the classic way of the real Korban Pesach is on an open spit, really, an open grill. But right, if you have liquid in it, that's already considered boiled, so it wouldn't be a problem. So
get real shawarma.
Right, a shawarma would be right. Shawarma would be the open fire again. That'd be the problem. Right. Okay, awesome. Any other questions?
You can't share your recipe with us, you know?
It's Bubby Vicky's recipe.
Okay.
It's only a 3-hour ordeal too. You know, some people cook it for 12 hours, 14 hours, but she does it quick and it's so tender. So
okay,
it's magic.
Cool.
Rabbi Moshe, I had a question. So what is the absolute must that you should do during this time? In some ways, what is the most, I guess, the minimum you should do to make sure that you're fulfilling?
Yeah, so I mean, the basics you should do, if you could really do the whole Seder, it's not really, if you shrink Magid down, you make it you should drink 4 cups of wine across the night, and you should eat matzah during the night. You should say those few paragraphs that I mentioned during Magid, and that's really, you should tell your children, if they're able to understand, the story of the Exodus. That's really the gist of the night in a handful. The rabbis gave us this order to do it in, and obviously, ideally, what that should be done. But if, in extenuating circumstances, someone can't do it, someone's sick, someone needs to shrink it down, that's really the bare bones basics. But the 4 cups of wine really have to be drunk in the order of the Seder. So if you were shrinking it down, have Kiddush and then have a vegetable, salt water, like so, nothing really takes that much time. It's a small little hors d'oeuvre in the beginning. Say that 1 paragraph, you make the 2nd cup of wine, matzah, quick meal, bench, and that's really, if you wanted to do it quickly, it doesn't need to take that much time. So, and the Gemara says the opposite direction in the maximum side. So obviously following the Haggadah is ideal. And this is one of the places that the Gemara says, Kol hamarba hariza meshubach. Whoever adds more, sometimes we say, adding is really decreasing. You're only supposed to have, tzitzis is supposed to have 4 sides. You don't make a 5th side on tzitzis. It's not better. It's worse. But by saying over the story of the Exodus, the more you add, the more you share, the more you tell. You could read, there's so many great books on Pesach you could buy that just some of them just tell over the story with midrashim adding in detail and making it more real, or some of them have beautiful, deep thoughts about it. The more you do and you're able to read and really understand, it's a bigger mitzvah. And the more you could do, literally the whole hamarba, everyone who increases, harez and meshubach, it's praiseworthy. It's considered great. So definitely all good things.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Or I'll say some final thoughts. Okay, anyone has any questions, let me know.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Very curious, who is Dot? Yeah, it's a good question. I never really looked around who's here. We could request them to start their video. I don't know if they'll listen or not. Okay.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark?
Just so everyone knows, I was on ArtScroll just now trying to grab a couple things, and there's free shipping, but it's not going to arrive until April 16th. So ArtScroll might not be the best place to get things, just in case anyone else was like me and needed to get some stuff. So just an FYI.
We have also, if anyone needs, we usually have a big Seder, not having anyone, so we have plenty of extra Haggadahs if anyone needs some extra.
I know in the past also Data purchased a lot of these before every Pesach, and they have them for sale. I don't know. I know earlier they had planned on purchasing them, and since there's not really so many meetings, it could be they have a lot of them. I'll find out tonight. I don't know offhand, but it could be they have a bunch of them. And if they do have them for sale, I can, leave a stack outside my door, and you could pick it up from outside my house, something like that. You could definitely arrange that. If anyone wants that, I guess just text me or email me afterwards, and I'll validate that. Or you could just reach out to Rabbi Avi and borrow one from him for free. So either way is good. Thank you for that point, Mark. I don't know. Could be they have others. I'm sure other sites have them also. You can look around. Other just general thoughts. Last year we did a pre-Pesach WhatsApp shir, and I discussed on that the halachas, the laws of cleaning your house for Pesach and other stuff. Tonight was really focused just on the Seder because I think this year is unique, and a lot of people have Seder requirements. If anyone wants the audios from the halachas, I have on that basic. It was a 10-minute recap of one on the laws of cleaning your house. One was a 10-minute recap of the laws of the Seder, what we discussed tonight without going through each step of the Seder, just more the general overview of the laws. Anyone who is interested in those halachas, just let me know, and I can just find those audios somewhere and send them over. Okay, if nothing else, and no one else has anything else to add, then we thank everyone for joining us. And we'll officially unmute everybody. Everyone can schmooze if they want. Okay, that's it. Good job.
Get the hands up there. Yeah, there we go.